Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Town of Manlius special board meeting this evening. Just when you think we were done with meetings this year, surprise, but that sort of sums up the year 2020. So why don't we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I have the flag right here behind me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And as usual, we will go around the room, well, around the Zoom with our introductions. I am Ed Theobald, Town of Manlius Supervisor.
Sarah Bollinger, Counselor.
John Deere, Town Councilor.
Julian Denton, Town Councilor.
Karen Green, Deputy Supervisor.
Caitlin Creasel, Town Councilor.
Heather Waters, Town Councilor.
And with us this evening, our town officials, Attorney Tim Ferteski and Town Manager Ann Oot. So welcome, everyone. And tonight, we're going to item 2 now. What we'll be doing is discussing a resolution that the Governor Cuomo issued an executive order on December 18th, and which gives local governments the ability to adopt a resolution extending the senior exemption and the individual with disabilities and limited income exemption through 2021 without the need for qualified individuals to file an application with the assessor. I will ask Attorney Ferteski to explain the resolution to all of us, which I believe you've all received and we've all reviewed for the meeting tonight. Tim?
I think you've explained it, and the resolution simply allows the town to direct the assessor so that if you had an exemption in 2020 for those 2 exemptions, you would keep that exemption for 2021, even if you didn't apply for it. One of the things that we talked about today, John and I did talk to Pat afterwards. John, I don't know if you got to talk to him, but one of the things that Pat was concerned about is what if somebody really wants to apply because their situation has changed and they actually might get a bigger exemption. Right. So, well, I added language today that I think John sent out to everybody that would allow Pat to process them as a regular application as long as it comes in before the deadline. And then I talked to Pat. He I don't think a lot of assessors they think it might be confusing, which it may be, but I think it's also it's a nice thing to do for the residents.
And just for some background, when I talked to Pat today, which I want to thank him for pointing this out. I mean, I don't know if it necessarily would have come to that, but I'm happy we were able to update the language so that it's very clear. But he said we have about 800 renewal applications that had gone out, and somewhere between a third and a half of them have come back. So ideally, this resolution is only going to affect a handful of people at the end of the day, but we don't want those people to lose their exemptions. And so that's really the intent here, is to make sure that no one loses their exemption. But again, thanks to Pat for pointing out that if people needed to reapply for a larger exemption, they now can do that.
And this was
I spoke with Pat this afternoon too, Tim, and I think you and John had already spoken to him, and he was concerned about the residents that may have lost a spouse. And it would have a negative impact on them. And the fact that this wouldn't even really take effect until 2021 and then 2022, whereas hopefully this pandemic will be over. But anyway, that's what I spoke to him about. And
well, I believe the deadline is March 1st. So
it is, Sarah.
It'll still be winter during the time people would have to come in, and they might not feel comfortable doing that.
And like John said, we have, I think, John, almost half of the applications back. Right, ours go out quite early in November, and Pat's always on top of that. So, I mean, that's substantial.
The language originally, just in the executive order, doesn't allow for that, as you said, Karen, and I'm glad Pat raised it. But the updated language that I think we included, which specifically says, except in the circumstances described below, or unless a valid renewal form is filed with the assessor before the deadline. I think that allows for people, if they've had a change in circumstance, that would allow them to get a bigger
Well, they wouldn't
deduction.
be penalized because of it.
It's not an automatic renewal. If you choose to renew by a new application, you'd be able to do that under the new language.
Is there a way to connect folks in the community with an opportunity to do all of this online? Like, is there a need for them to come into town hall?
So the Dropbox is there if folks don't want to come in, and they should feel free to use that, especially as it gets colder. You can just drive up and drop it in the Dropbox. But again, like the intent here in my mind is, if there's a couple of people, we would rather them not lose their exemption than have to reapply, especially just given the circumstances. We don't know what this winter is going to look like. It's just another piece of paperwork that came in the mail. It's very easy, if the situation is dire, to miss that or forget you need to file the exemption. So this will just make sure that no one gets left behind, really.
Well, it's continuity for the folks in case, because of the circumstances, it kind of protects them, but it's also an opportunity. It doesn't take away the opportunity to renew with your new circumstances.
Is there a concern that folks that had qualified previously for the exemption, that now it will just automatically continue, that would not have qualified again for the exemption? Are we expecting that to be a lot of people?
It's a rare circumstance. It is possible.
Right.
But it would, if it were anyone, it would be a handful.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a huge revenue change, I don't believe, for the town.
Okay.
Ed, did you have an opportunity to speak with the Association of Towns?
Well, yeah, in fact, if you recall, this was driven by the Association of Assessors, and the letter that I believe you all had seen a copy of it, that I sent in on behalf of us to the governor requesting this. So they're all on board. In fact, a lot of verbiage, I don't know, Tim, if you use any of it that I forwarded you from the Association of Towns. I said there's some similar language in there. So yes, we've been in contact with them.
The reason I'm told, the reason for this executive order was really to help Westchester County, who has not sent out all of their applications yet.
Right.
And we have already sent ours out a couple of months ago. So
November.
it really doesn't help us that much, but it really helps out some of the downstate
right,
counties that have not sent out their applications. But I don't see any harm in this. I think it's actually for those people, like John said, for those people who don't want to come in, drop it off at town hall. They won't have to. They can just assume it's going to continue on.
And this is very similar to some other issues we had, which of course it was driven by Westchester County, because they don't send out their tax, I think till March or something like that.
It's very late, very late. They haven't even, right.
And they're huge, so
yeah.
that's a big difference there.
So do we want to make a motion and vote on this?
Yes, that's what we're looking for tonight.
John, do you want to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, sir. So, Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a motion to pass the resolution authorizing and implementing executive order, I think it was 202.83 to grant taxpayer relief by extending the senior and individual with disabilities and limited income exemption to 2021.
And Mr. Supervisor, or Tim, can we just change a couple of minor words in there? And I know this is how the governor has it worded, but, well, I think we should put the date of the deadline, March 1st. And then the other one that, I don't know, just bothers me, instead of on the last paragraph, transfer the property to a new owner or died. Instead of died, can we soften that a little bit and put is deceased?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, let's make a second and then we
Died
can
sounds
amend
a little
it.
cold
We
and
can adjust
callous,
that.
so
All right, so who would like to make a second on that?
I'll
be
make
happy
the
to.
second.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Heather, go ahead.
All right.
Thanks.
Heather
Yeah,
will.
I'll second the motion, but
All right.
are we going to say pending the updates?
No, we can actually amend it verbally right now, and I'll make the changes.
Okay.
Then we'll send it back in. I'll send it back to everybody tomorrow. But the
I
changes
feel
are
better
the
with
last
that.
word will be deceased and not dead, and I apologize for that. But that
No,
was one of
that's
the words.
exactly, Tim, that's exactly how the governor has it written. The same.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the
More polite, appropriate term. So I agree with that.
Yeah, they said or died.
and we'll put the deadline as March 31st, March 30th.
March 1st.
First, I believe. Is that right?
I'll put
Okay.
so as amended, you're going to pass this.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Also quickly before we adjourn, I was remiss in not including our deputy clerk tonight who's on, Deb Witzel. Welcome, Deb. Sorry to not see you.
Hi,
So,
Deb.
Thank you, Deb, for coming this evening and being our clerk tonight.
Yeah, thank you everyone for the short that we were able to get together such short notice. I appreciate it, Tim. Great job on that. Good work, team, and putting this together for this evening. So with that, I would ask for motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Very good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Don't
See you
leave us
guys in
short.
30 seconds.